the Martians and Venusians watching tonight's episode. This is the final episode on fixations. I'm discussing INFPs, my type, and the ISFPs or the artists. Okay, and by fixation, I mean it's this obsessive thought pattern that sort of dominates your mind and takes up a lot of space, demands a lot of your attention and psychological energy. So let me break down the INFP and the ISFP, some of the most emotional types amongst the 16 personality types in the Myers Briggs system. Okay, and that's the letter F, the third letter F in the 4-letter code, INFP or ISFP. It stands for feeling. Okay, so what am I tracking constantly? My moods. From time to time, from the time that I wake up in the morning. Okay, how do I feel when I wake up in the morning? How do I feel when I have to get to work? How do I feel when I have to pull myself out of bed to get to work? How do I feel when something unexpected comes up at work? Like I'm working on a project and then I get called into another project. How does that make me feel? How does it make me feel when my friend makes plans to meet up later in the weekend? Okay, how do I feel when things are not going my way? What am I feeling when a neighbor of mine goes on a rant about wedding shopping and the groceries she needs to get done this weekend? What am I feeling when I have to file my own taxes? There are these shifts within me, okay, movements, ripples, and that's what I am tracking constantly. Let's say I see a dog on the road, okay, and it's kind of hobbling on its thin, bony hind legs, and it's obvious to me that someone pelted it with a stone, and that makes me angry. It makes me rage. And when I start processing my anger and rage at this injustice, what's the next emotion that comes up for me? Sadness. There's this deep sadness and I feel overwhelmed by it. I'm reminded of all the ways animals are abused, and the next thing you know, I'm thinking about a documentary that I watched, and I see this image of a kitten cries squeezing out of its frail body, and it's looking for its mother. Okay, it's been abandoned, and I feel terribly sad, and suddenly I make that connection between a cat and a past crush who also was into cats, and I remember him and how I used to call him, and there's again more sadness in me. Okay, so it's a different kind of sadness, and that's what Carl Jung discusses in his book Psychological Types. He says that us feelers, INFPs and ISFPs, we go so deep into our emotions, right? We're feeling about our feelings, the different types of sadness. There's sadness that stems from injustice, sadness that comes up from abandonment, and sadness that comes up from yearning for a lost love. Okay, so it's like the 50 shades of sadness, and it's an indulgent process. It's a passionate process when you're just feeling and going deeper and deeper and feeling about your feelings. It is obsessive in a way, and solipsism is my last name, but that's just one facet of it. Okay, I'm also tracking my interests. Do I like Nate Jacobs or do I like Nate Jacobs? Values, judging every action in terms of good or bad. What's the right tone of what's the right tone of voice I must maintain in a conversation? Would it be a good thing or a bad thing if I raise my voice, particularly if I was talking to a stranger or someone I was just acquainted with, right? If someone was bad at writing, should I be honest with the individual and or and discourage them from pursuing writing, or need I be encouraging and supportive to this individual, right? Good or bad. That's how I'm constantly judging myself and those around me. Which brings me to the last part of the lecture, right? All of these mental endeavors serve one purpose only: to help me pull inward, to answer who I was, who I am, and who I want to be. An idealization, images. That's how I see the world around me, right? I have ideas about or images about everything. I watch Amelie, I see Nino, and boom, that's the type of lover I want, a Frenchman, okay? That's my ideal. Or I watch Pride and Prejudice, and the lead up to that kiss in the rain, right? It's almost a kiss. It's not quite a complete kiss, right? But it's that moment, and that is the moment I want to have. That is the lead up I want to have when I kiss someone on a date that I'm attracted to, right? Or let's say, my first date ought to be like scenes from Before Sunrise. And sometimes it seems like a prison, okay? I'm trapped in this prison because I have ideals for everything, for myself, for what I want, for what I want out of another person romantically. And it seems that when reality, and it has no basis in reality, right? So every time reality doesn't match these idealized images that I have, I am constantly disappointed. I'm thoroughly frustrated, and that kind of builds up all of this angst and sadness within me. INFPs could be more floaty in this regard, being constantly frustrated because reality is so different from the fantasy in our heads. But ISFPs tend to be more grounded and practical, and they live in the moment, right? So that'll be the key difference. Whereas INFPs dwell in the realm of possibilities, right? That would be the second letter N in the 4-letter code, intuition or intuitive, which is basically abstraction, right? Living in the world of ideas and possibilities. Whereas S, which is the second letter in the 4-letter code ISFP, which stands for sensing. And truly what it means is ISFPs use their 5 senses to ground themselves into reality, to tether themselves, so they're not floaty like INFPs are. So that's all I have on INFPs and ISFPs and their fixation for this video, and this is the last video on fixations. Be sure to watch the prior videos on the rest of the Myers Briggs personality types, where I kind of dig into every obsessive thought pattern of the personality types. Alright, until next time, don't get complacent. Love you, love me, love Mademoiselle Venus.